When asked about the budget of this film and if more streamers would continue to take $250 to $300 million swings, Joe Russo had this to say. By that model, you should probably just make everything for a medium number, right? Logically, it probably doesn't make a ton of sense to continue to spend that way, but I think they might because people still believe in ambition. He then would go on to say, so I still think you'll see some of those pop through, but I don't think it's going to be a healthy part of the business model.
Interesting point.
So Electric State is a film that had a pretty solid trailer a few months ago, and I kind of felt obligated to check out simply for the fact of Chris Pratt and the Russo brothers being involved in it. But I was a little worried going in because this film was getting lambasted by everyone. Currently, the Rotten Tomatoes score is around the 14% for critics, and I can't even tell you how many 1 to 2 star reviews I was seeing on Letterboxd. Nonetheless, I wanted to give this a chance, and when I started watching the film, I was really confused because I thought it was pretty good. We open up with the character establishment for Millie Bobby Brown's character and the relationship, this wholesome bond she has with her brother. Granted, there were a couple of moments where I thought maybe they were a little too close, but moving on. Essentially, the sibling relationship between these two characters is the crux of the narrative moving forward, and it's honestly really compelling. And this concept of robots starting an uprising I thought was really interesting and could pave the way for a lot of cool avenues to explore. Not to mention the visuals were almost flawless, at least in the CG model department for all these robots. I couldn't find one that looked fake. However, it became abundantly clear as the film progressed that this was just a generic sci-fi film with a really shallow theme that is nowhere near as revolutionary as the film thinks it is. Now stop me if you heard this one before. Technology bad. Social interaction? Good. And while I did compliment the VFX, I will say there were some green screen shots that really did not comp well. And while these CG robot models were really convincing, there were just some shots that just did not blend well with the real in-camera footage. Chris Pratt's just kind of doing his typical Chris Pratt shtick, and while I have nothing against Chris Pratt, I think he's a very good actor, I really wish he could have been given better material so he could flex those acting muscles a little bit more, because he is more than capable of tackling that. And the supporting cast behind Bobby Brown and Pratt is genuinely baffling because you have so many big names, or relatively bigger names, I should say, in supporting roles, really minor roles, cameos, and voice cast. And all I'm thinking the whole time is just, how much money did they spend on this movie? Turns out the cast crossed with production, and I'm guessing most of that went to the VFX department, racked up a tab of $320 million. And that is absurd. I mean, this is a Netflix film, okay? And they're shooting for the moon with no return on investment in sight. Look, this would have been a risk if you were sending it to the theater, but the fact that you're releasing it on a streaming service, I mean, that's just financial poison. I just can't get over the fact that this is actually the Russo brothers. I mean, these guys made some of the greatest comic book movies of all time. Everything past Endgame, they just can't stick the landing. Like, I enjoy The Gray Man for what it's worth, and I think they wrote the Extraction films. Those were a good time, and Cherry was very flawed, but I didn't wind up hating it nearly as much as other people. But those all are a far cry from Winter Soldier, Civil War, Infinity War, and Endgame. And it seems the Electric State is just another notch in their belt of infamy. Which is why for a final score out of 10, I'm going to have to give the Electric State a 5. So have you seen the Electric State? It's currently streaming on Netflix if you have that platform, so really it's not like you'd have to go out to the theater and pay for a ticket, but at the same time you're still spending roughly 2 hours and 8 minutes if you really wanted to see it. So let me know in the comments if you've seen it yet and you liked it, or you didn't like it, or you're just not going to watch it at all. If you want to support the channel, you can hit the like button, subscribe, and hit the bell so you know when I'm uploading. And as always, you can click the links in my description. It'll take you to other social media platforms where you can find me, where I post reviews that don't always make it onto this channel, just in case you wanted more stuff from me that wasn't just YouTube exclusive. But until next time, guys, God be with you, and take care.